Hi, this is Tutor Nick P, and this is noun phrase 187. The noun phrase today is the real McCoy. Yeah, a lot of times students ask, where did this come from? Well, where did the real McCoy? There must be some story behind it. Well, actually, there's several stories behind it. So let's look at this. Let's look at the note here first. If someone says that a person or thing is the real McCoy, it means he or she is genuine, or the authentic thing, or definitely not a copy. So the definition is very clear. It means something that is real, something that's authentic, something that is not a fake or a copy. All right, let's continue. There are several interesting possible origins. The first one is that the real McCoy may be a corruption of an old Scottish phrase, the real McKay. So when they say corruption, it means people just started pronouncing it incorrectly. So maybe originally it was the real McKay, and then it just kind of changed or morphed into the real McCoy. Okay. All right, the real McKay, which actually referred to a brand of whiskey. So I think there was a lot of whiskeys brands of whiskey at that time, and this guy wanted everybody to know that his was the genuine, real McCay. That his quality was better than the other whiskey. Let's continue. It was first recorded in a poem, Delhi's Hallowe'en. Here is the quote: "A drapel of the real McCoy." Now, drapel is kind of an old term that we had it meant like a drop of something. The famous author Robert Louis Stevenson also used this phrase in his writing, and he had this quote, "Here's the real McCoy." So it's been around since at least that time, so several hundred years ago. All right, let's continue. A second possibility relates to an inventor named Elijah McCoy from Canada in the mid-1800s. He had many inventions, including the ironing board. Well, if you ever wanted to know who invented the ironing board, I guess it was him. Lawn sprinklers, so I guess it makes sense it was around that time. Lubricators for steam engines, etc. Okay. There were many who tried to, copy his inventions, but their devices were of poorer quality. So people started to say they wanted the real McCoy. They wanted the devices that were invented by Elijah McCoy, because those were the ones that worked better or worked well, not these other ones who were trying to copy his inventions, basically. Okay, let's continue. Third possible origin relates to an American boxer named Norman Selby, who boxed under the name Kid McCoy. So Kid McCoy was, just his boxing name. He was the welterweight champion from 1898 to 1900, so for about 3 years there. It is said in small towns, many imitator boxers used to use his name for matches. And he eventually billed himself as the real McCoy. So remember, this is 1898, so this is before radio, this is before TV. Somebody could just say that, they were that person, and you might not know. Today, of course, probably his picture would have been everywhere, and they wouldn't be able to get away with that. But at that time, you probably could. So somebody else just used his name, pretend he was that boxer to attract more people. And then, so eventually he had to bill, under his name, which means advertise, that he was the real McCoy, not these imitator McCoys. Okay, good. And we just have several examples here to cover this. Here's the first example. I once panned for gold and found a small gold rock. When I had it checked out, I found out it was not the real McCoy. It was just fool's gold. Yeah, they say that there's sometimes people find a rock that looks like it could be real gold, but it's actually not the genuine or authentic gold. It's just another rock that's more or less pretty worthless. All right, number 2 here. Jenny thought the big rock her fiance gave her was the real McCoy, meaning, of course, a real diamond. But she found out it was just the cubic zirconia. So he just got her a artificial one. A cubic zirconia, of course, is, one that's like made in a laboratory, not a genuine diamond. Okay, and number 3 here, I don't want any imitations. If it is not the real McCoy, I don't want it. So people could say this about anything. They want the real thing. They don't want something that's a copy. They want the real McCoy. Okay, anyway, I hope you got it. I hope it's clear. I hope it was very informative. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.